I found out my dead identical twin brother has been sleeping with my wife for the past 17 years, and my mother knew the whole time because she's the one who faked his death. If you've got some time and maybe a snack, settle in. This is going to be long, but every minute of it is burned into my memory. This is the story of how I discovered that my entire adult life was built on a lie, how my mother orchestrated the most twisted deception I've ever heard of, and how I made sure everyone knew the truth on Christmas Day. It's about a marriage that never should have existed, a brother who was supposed to be dead, and the moment I realized I was always just the replacement, here's what you need to know up front. 20 years ago, my identical twin brother Michael died in a car accident. 6 months later, I married his girlfriend Rachel because my mother convinced us it would help us all heal. We built a life together, had 2 kids. I thought I was happy. Then one random Tuesday in December, I saw Michael at an Olive Garden 2 hours from home, very much alive, kissing my wife. Turns out he never died. My mother faked his death, helped him recover in secret, and then enabled a 17-year affair between him and Rachel while I raised kids I can't even prove are biologically mine because we're identical twins. So, I did what any reasonable person would do. I exposed all 3 of them in front of our entire extended family at Christmas dinner and watched their lives implode in real time. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning. My name is David Miller. I'm 40 years old, and until about a year ago, I taught world history at Lincoln High School in Springfield, Illinois. I've been there for 15 years. I coach JV basketball. I'm the guy who brings donuts to faculty meetings and stays late to help students with their college essays. People call me the nice guy. And for most of my life, I thought that was a compliment. I have an identical twin brother named Michael. Had. I don't know what tense to use anymore. Michael was always the golden child. Charismatic, confident, 7 minutes older than me, and never let me forget it. He was the one everyone remembered at parties. I was the responsible one, the backup plan, the one who did his homework while Michael charmed his way through life. We looked exactly alike, but somehow everyone could tell us apart. Michael had this energy that I just didn't. In 2005, the week before Labor Day, Michael was in a car accident, head-on collision with a drunk driver on Route 66, just outside of town. He was 20 years old. The police came to our door at 3 a.m. My mother, Patricia, collapsed. My father, Robert, and I drove to the hospital, but Michael was already gone, dead on arrival. They told us his injuries were too severe, that he died instantly, that he didn't suffer. We believed them because why wouldn't we? The funeral was closed casket. Mom said it was because the accident had been too traumatic, that Michael wouldn't have wanted people to see him that way. I remember standing next to that casket thinking about how my brother was in there, cold and gone, and I'd never see his face again. My father cried. I'd never seen him cry before. I held my mother while she shook and whispered, my baby, over and over. And Rachel, Michael's girlfriend of 2 years, stood in the back of the church in a black dress that hung off her frame because she'd lost 15 pounds in a week. She looked like a ghost. Rachel and Michael had been the perfect couple, high school sweethearts who made it through college. Everyone assumed they'd get married. Michael had even bought a ring, though he never got the chance to propose. After the funeral, Rachel disappeared for 3 months, wouldn't return calls, didn't come to the memorial gatherings. My mother worried about her constantly. I was grieving too, but differently. I had to be strong for my parents. I was the surviving son, the one who had to hold it together. I went back to student teaching that fall. I visited Michael's grave every Sunday. I put fresh flowers on the headstone that read, Michael James Miller, 1985-2005, beloved son and brother. And I tried to figure out how to be a whole person when half of me was buried in Oakwood Cemetery. Then, one night in November, 3 months after the funeral, my mother called me. She said Rachel had finally reached out and wanted to meet for coffee. Mom asked if I'd go, just to check on her, make sure she was eating, make sure she was okay. So I did. I met Rachel at a diner on a cold Tuesday evening, and she looked so small and broken that I just wanted to hug her. We talked about Michael for 2 hours. We cried together. We shared memories. And somewhere in that conversation, we both realized we were the only 2 people in the world who understood what we'd lost. We started meeting regularly after that. Coffee once a week, then twice a week. My mother encouraged it. She said Michael would have wanted us to support each other. Looking back now, I can see her fingerprints all over it. the suggestions to invite Rachel to Thanksgiving, the gentle pushes to make sure she's not alone on Christmas, the comments about how you two understand each other in a way no one else can. By March of 2006, 6 months after Michael died, Rachel and I were dating. It felt wrong at first, like I was betraying my brother. But my mother said Michael would have wanted us both to be happy. She said life was too short to waste on guilt. She said Rachel and I were meant to find each other, that Michael had brought us together even in death. I believed her because I needed to believe something. My father was quieter about it, but he didn't object. He just nodded and said, "Whatever makes you happy, son." We got married that March in a small ceremony at my parents' house. Just family and close friends. Rachel wore a simple white dress. I wore the suit I'd worn to Michael's funeral, which probably should have been a sign. Everyone said it was beautiful. Everyone said it was healing. Everyone said Michael would have been so happy for us. I stood at that makeshift altar in my parents' living room and promised to love Rachel for the rest of my life, and I meant it. I really did. We had Sophie in 2007 and Alex in 2009. Beautiful kids. Sophie has Rachel's dark hair and my blue eyes. Alex has my build and Michael's smile, which used to make my mother cry happy tears. We bought a 4-bedroom colonial on Maple Street when Sophie was 3. Rachel quit her job as an ER nurse when Alex was born to be a stay-at-home mom. We were living the dream. White picket fence, Sunday dinners at my mother's house, soccer games and parent-teacher conferences, and all the normal stuff that normal families do. Except nothing about us was normal. I just didn't know it yet. There were cracks looking back. Small things I dismissed as grief or stress or just the reality of a long marriage. Rachel was never fully present with me. When we had sex, which became less and less frequent over the years, she'd close her eyes and I'd wonder where she went in her head. She kept Michael's photo in her nightstand drawer. Not a family photo, not a group shot. A photo of just him from before the accident, smiling that smile that made everyone love him. When I asked about it once, she said, "I need to remember him." I didn't push. How could I? He was my brother. She wore a necklace every single day. Never took it off, not in the shower, not at night. It was her old engagement ring from Michael, the one he had bought but never got to give her. She wore it on a chain around her neck, tucked under her shirt where most people couldn't see it, but I could. I saw it every time she changed clothes, every time we made love, every time she leaned over to kiss me goodnight. That ring was always there between us. My mother had her quirks too. She'd say things like, "You're so much like Michael," all the time. I thought she was just remembering him, keeping his memory alive, but sometimes she'd catch herself and say something strange like, "You'll never be Michael," or "Michael was different." Once, at Thanksgiving about 5 years ago, she made a toast to those we've lost, and looked directly at me with this expression I couldn't read. Pity, maybe, or guilt. I shrugged it off. Mom was getting older, still grieving. We all were. Rachel had Wednesday evening book club in Bloomington for the past 2 years. Bloomington is about 2 hours south of Springfield. Every single Wednesday, she'd drive down there at 2 in the afternoon and come home around 10 at night. 8 hours for book club seemed excessive, but she said they got dinner together too, and sometimes saw a movie. She'd come home relaxed and happy in a way she never seemed to be at home. I was glad she had that outlet. I was glad she had friends. She also paid $85 a month for a storage unit in Bloomington. When I found the charge on our credit card statement about a year ago, I asked her about it. She got defensive, which was unusual for her, and then said it was where she kept Michael's things, the stuff she couldn't let go of but couldn't bear to have in the house. I understood that. I thought it was sweet even, that she still honored his memory that way. I never asked to see what was in there. The kids knew something was off too. In that way, kids always know. Alex asked me once when he was about 10, "Dad, does Mom even like you?" I'd laughed it off, ruffled his hair, said, "Of course she does, buddy." But the question stuck with me. My best friend Tom, who I've known since college, said something similar about a year ago. We were at bowling, having a beer, and he watched Rachel pick me up. She barely looked at me when I got in the car. Tom said, "Man, does Rachel even like you? She looks at you like you're a roommate." I'd laughed then too, made a joke about long marriages, changed the subject. I should have listened. I visited Michael's grave on the first Sunday of every month, like clockwork. It was my ritual, my way of staying connected to him. I'd stand there at Oakwood Cemetery in front of that headstone and talk to him about my life, about Sophie getting straight A's, about Alex making the basketball team, about the funny thing that happened in my world history class. Sometimes my mother would come with me and we'd cry together. Sometimes I went alone. In November, a month before everything fell apart, I told Michael that Sophie had gotten early acceptance to University of Illinois. I said, "I hope I've done right by Rachel. I hope you'd be proud of the dad I've become." I meant every word. But I noticed something that day. There were fresh flowers on his grave, not mine. I brought daisies, his favorite. These were roses, expensive ones. And they were recent, maybe a day or two old. My mother hadn't been there that week. So, who had? I didn't think much of it. Maybe a friend from high school. Maybe someone from Michael's old fraternity. People still remembered him. People still loved him. I put my daisies next to the roses and left. Thanksgiving was at my mother's house, like always. Big Victorian place about 10 minutes from us, the house I grew up in. My father had died of a heart attack 8 years earlier, so it was just Mom now, rattling around in that big house full of memories. Rachel, the kids, and I drove over around noon. My mother's sister Linda was there with her husband George. Rachel's parents Richard and Susan drove up from Decatur. We had the whole family gathered around that enormous dining room table, passing mashed potatoes and pretending everything was normal, but it wasn't. Rachel was on her phone constantly, which was new. She'd disappear into the bathroom for 20, 30 minutes at a time. When I asked if she was okay, she snapped at me, said she was fine, said I was being paranoid. At one point, Sophie asked her mom a question, and Rachel didn't even hear her because she was texting someone. Sophie said, "Mom, why do you still wear your old engagement ring on a chain?" Everyone went quiet. Rachel's face went white for just a second, then red. She said, "It was your Uncle Michael's. Don't be disrespectful." The way she said it shut down the conversation, but I saw my mother and Rachel exchange a look across the table. It wasn't grief. It was something else. Conspiratorial, like they shared a secret. I told myself I was imagining things. On the drive home, Rachel texted furiously the entire time. I asked who she was talking to. She said, "Book club, planning next week's meeting." I nodded and drove. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to my wife of 19 years and felt like I was lying next to a stranger. Something was wrong. I couldn't name it, but I could feel it in my gut. Sometimes I'd look at myself in the bathroom mirror and wonder if Rachel saw me at all, or if she just saw Michael's face on a different person. I didn't know it then, but in exactly 8 days, I'd find out I was right. December 3rd was a Tuesday. Normal day. I taught 4 classes, proctored a makeup test during my planning period, stayed after school for an hour helping a junior with his essay on the French Revolution. Around 4:30, I remembered we were out of printer paper at home, and the teacher supply store in Bloomington had better prices than the one in Springfield. I decided to make the drive. 2 hours there, grab supplies, maybe get dinner, 2 hours back. I'd be home by 10. I got to Bloomington around 5:30 and hit up the teacher store. Loaded up on paper, pens, those little sticky flags I use for grading. Then I was hungry, so I pulled into the Olive Garden on Route 66. Nothing fancy, just wanted some breadsticks and pasta before the drive home. I went inside and ordered takeout. Chicken Alfredo? Easy. The hostess said it'd be about 15 minutes, so I stood near the window waiting, looking out at the parking lot. Because what else are you going to do? And that's when I saw him. There was a man standing next to a Honda Civic talking on his phone. Same height as me, same build, same brown hair, same blue winter coat I had in my closet at home. For a second, I thought it was a mirror, like I was looking at my own reflection, somehow projected into the parking lot. Then the man turned slightly, and I saw his profile. It was Michael's profile. Michael's nose, Michael's jaw, Michael's way of standing with his weight on his right leg. My brain short-circuited. Static filled my head. I thought I was having a stroke. I thought I was hallucinating because Michael was dead. I'd been to his funeral. I had visited his grave literally 5 weeks ago. But the man in the parking lot laughed at something on his phone. And it was Michael's laugh. I'd know that laugh anywhere. We'd shared a womb. We'd shared a room for 18 years. I knew that laugh better than I knew my own. Then he hung up and walked toward the restaurant entrance, toward me. I froze. Couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process what I was seeing. The man walked through the door, not 10 feet from where I was standing. The hostess greeted him with a smile. She said, "Hey Mike, Your usual table? Mike, not Michael, Mike. The man smiled at her. Thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, the booth in the back. His voice. Michael's voice. Same cadence, same tone, same everything. He walked right past me, 3 feet away. Close enough that I could smell his cologne, which was different from what Michael used to wear, but still familiar somehow. He didn't look at me. Didn't see me standing there like a statue, gripping the edge of the pickup counter so hard my knuckles went white. The hostess led him to a booth in the back corner. I watched him sit down, pull out his phone, smile at something on the screen. He looked comfortable. He looked like he'd been here 100 times before. He looked alive. I couldn't make myself move. My takeout order came up. The cashier said, "Sir, your order?" 3 times before I heard her. I took the bag with shaking hands, paid, got my receipt, shoved it all in my coat pocket. I couldn't leave. I had to see. I had to know if I'd lost my mind. I stood partially hidden behind a display case of gift cards and specialty vinegars, watching this man who couldn't be my brother, but absolutely was my brother, order from the menu, check his phone, look toward the door like he was waiting for someone. And then, at 5:47 p.m. exactly, I checked my phone later to confirm, because time stopped meaning anything. The door opened. Rachel walked in. My wife, the mother of my children, the woman I'd been married to for 19 years. She walked into that Olive Garden in Bloomington, Illinois, in the black coat I'd given her for Christmas 2 years ago, and she walked directly to Michael's booth. He stood up. They kissed. Not a peck. Not a friendly hello. A kiss. Romantic. Familiar. The kind of kiss you give someone you've kissed 1,000 times before. His hand on her waist, her hand on his face. They broke apart, both smiling, and sat down across from each other, holding hands across the table. The server came over. They clearly knew what they wanted, didn't even look at menus. The server left and came back with 2 glasses of red wine. Their usual, they had a usual. I stood there for 11 minutes. I know because I looked at my watch afterward and tried to piece together how long I'd been frozen in that spot, watching my wife and my dead brother act like a couple on a date night, talking, laughing, her leaning in to whisper something that made him grin, him reaching across to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. Rachel laughed at something he said, really laughed, head thrown back, joy on her face. I hadn't heard her laugh like that in years, maybe ever, not with me. Finally, my survival instinct kicked in. Get out. Get out now. Leave before they see you. Leave before you completely lose your mind. I walked to my car in a daze, drove for about 20 minutes before I had to pull over at a gas station because my hands were shaking so badly I couldn't hold the steering wheel. I opened the door and vomited next to a dumpster, sat back in my car and couldn't catch my breath, hyperventilating, gasping, crying. I don't even remember crying, but my face was wet. My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel sent 40 minutes earlier. Book club running late, don't wait up. Book club. She was on a date with my dead brother, and she texted me about book club. I don't remember driving home. Genuinely can't recall getting on the highway, or taking the exit, or parking in my driveway. It was like I blinked and I was there. 10:30 at night. The house was dark except for the porch light. The kids were asleep. Rachel's car wasn't there yet. I went inside, went to my office, and closed the door. Sat in my desk chair and stared at the wall. My brain kept looping the same thoughts over and over. That was Michael, my brother, who died 20 years ago. But he's alive. He's alive, and he's with Rachel. He's alive, and they kissed. He's alive, and I'm married to his girlfriend. He's alive, and where the hell has he been for 20 years? Rachel came home at 11:15. I heard her car in the driveway, heard the door open, heard her humming as she came inside. Humming. She was happy. I stayed in my office and listened to her move through the house, the kitchen, the living room, upstairs. She called out, "David, you still up?" Her voice was light, relaxed, warm. I didn't answer. She came upstairs, poked her head into the office. "Hey you, how was your day?" She smiled at me like everything was normal, like she hadn't just spent 7 hours with my supposedly dead brother. I couldn't speak. My voice was gone. I managed to say, "Fine. You?" "Book club was great," she said, kissing my cheek. "We're reading Where the Crawdads Sing. You'd like it." I nodded. She went to our bedroom. I heard the shower start, heard her singing. I sat in that office chair until 3 in the morning, unable to move, unable to process, unable to do anything but replay that kiss over and over in my head. At 4 a.m., I gave up on sleep, went to my laptop, and started searching. Michael James Miller, Bloomington, Illinois. Nothing. The only results were his obituary and old high school football stats. Mike Anderson, Bloomington, Illinois. Pages of results, LinkedIn profile, Facebook profile, a consulting website. I clicked on Facebook. There he was. Profile picture of a man who looked exactly like me, smiling at the camera. Mike Anderson, IT consultant, Bloomington, IL. The privacy settings were high. I could only see his profile picture and cover photo, which was a generic sunset, but it was him. I zoomed in, same scar on his left eyebrow from when we fell off our bunk bed when we were 12. It was Michael. I spent the next hour cross-referencing his name, trying to find proof I wasn't insane. Found a photo from 2019 in the public profile of one of his old high school friends. Birthday party, tagged Mike Anderson. Michael's face. Michael's scar. Michael alive in 2019. My brother didn't die in 2005. My brother was living 2 hours away under a different name, and my wife had been seeing him. For how long? Had she known all along? Had my mother known? I called in sick to school the next day. First time in 5 years. Rachel took the kids to school and asked if I was okay. I told her stomach bug. She said, "Feel better," and left. The second the house was empty, I made a list on a legal pad. Everything I knew, everything I suspected. Then I started digging. I searched everything. Financial records, credit card statements, Rachel's phone records from our Verizon account, GPS history. Every Wednesday for the past 2 years, her phone pinged at the same address in Bloomington. I Google mapped it, an apartment complex downtown. I wrote down the address. Then I remembered the storage unit, the one Rachel said held Michael's things. I found the key in her coat pocket that afternoon while she was at yoga with Linda. Small key labeled Secure Store Unit 47. I drove to Bloomington, took the address from the credit card statement, secure store on Main Street, industrial building, rows of orange metal doors. I found Unit 47, unlocked it, pulled up the door. It was full of Michael's stuff, his college trophies, his high school letterman jacket, his yearbooks, things I remembered from his room at our parents' house. But there was other stuff too, recent stuff. Photos in frames, Michael and Rachel together. Not old photos from before the accident, new photos, dated photos with timestamps in the corners, 2010, 2015, 2020, last year. Photos of them hiking, at restaurants, at a beach somewhere, smiling, in love, birthday cards, a whole box of them. Rachel's handwriting. To my love, another year with you. You make every day brighter. Dates on every single one. 2009, 2010, 2011, all the way up to this year. One from last month. November 2025. 20 years since I almost lost you. So grateful for every day since. 20 years? The accident was 20 years ago. There was a journal, Rachel's journal, her handwriting on the cover. I opened it to a random page. Entry dated June 2008. Patricia says David can never know. He's happy being a father. Sophie is perfect. David loves her so much. Michael and I have our Wednesdays. It's enough. It has to be enough. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped the journal. Patricia, my mother. My mother knew. I took photos of everything on my phone, every card, every photo, every piece of evidence. Found a lease agreement with Michael's real address. Found life insurance documents. A payout of $500,000 to Patricia Miller, paid out in October 2005 for Michael's death. My mother collected $500,000 when Michael died. I locked the unit back up, sat in my car outside that storage facility, and tried not to scream. Because I knew now. I understood. My mother faked Michael's death. She collected insurance money. She helped him hide. And when Rachel and I got married, when we had kids, when we built our life, Michael had been alive the whole time, and my mother and my wife had known. For 17 years they'd known. That night I couldn't go home. I drove around for 3 hours, finally called Tom around 8 p.m. I was pulled over on some country road, crying so hard I could barely speak. I need help, I told him. Something happened. Where are you? Tom asked immediately. He could hear it in my voice. Send me your location. I'm coming to get you. My brother's alive, I said. My mom lied. Rachel's been cheating for 17 years. Tom, I don't know who I am. Send me your location right now, Tom said. Don't move. I'm on my way. He drove out to wherever the hell I was, found me sitting on the hood of my car staring at nothing. He didn't ask questions, just said, Come on, you're staying at my place tonight. That night, in Tom's guest room, I told him everything. The restaurant, the storage unit, the photos, the journal, the insurance fraud, all of it. Tom sat there and listened, and at the end, he asked me the question that changed everything. So, what are you going to do about it? The next morning, December 5th, I drove to my mother's house. Wednesday, Rachel's book club day. She'd already left for Bloomington. For Michael. My mother was home alone. I walked in without knocking. She was in the kitchen making coffee. David, she said, you scared me. What are you? I put the photos from the storage unit on her kitchen table. Just laid them out like I was playing solitaire. Michael and Rachel at a restaurant. Michael and Rachel hiking. Michael and Rachel kissing. The insurance payout paperwork. Explain, I said. The color drained from my mother's face. She sank into a chair. We stared at each other for what felt like an hour. Finally, she whispered, How long have you known? 2 days, I said. I saw him. At a restaurant. With Rachel. My mother started crying. You weren't supposed to find out. He's alive! My voice was shaking. I was shaking. You faked his death. He was dying, David. She was sobbing now. The accident, he was in a coma for 3 weeks. The doctor said if he survived, he'd have brain damage. He'd need 24/7 care for the rest of his life. I couldn't watch him suffer. I couldn't. So you killed him on paper? I sent him to a private facility in Indiana, she said. Paid cash. Told everyone he died. It was mercy, David. I was trying to save him. And when he recovered? Long pause. She looked down at her hands. He recovered faster than anyone expected. By 2007, he was himself again. Mostly. He needed facial reconstruction surgery from the accident injuries, but yes, he looked like you again. He was okay. Where was I during all this? You were marrying Rachel, she said, defensive now. You were starting a family. You were happy. Did Michael know that I married her? Another pause. Yes. And Rachel? She found out in 2008, my mother said quietly. Michael called her. They met. They never stopped loving each other, David. They tried, but... So for 17 years, you had a family. She stood up, angry now. You had children. You were never meant to be alone, David. I gave you that. I gave you a life. I stared at my mother. This woman who raised me, who I thought I knew. I was the replacement, I said. You were the solution, she said. I wanted to hit something, wanted to scream, but my voice came out cold instead. Tell me everything. And she did. She told me how Michael's recovery took 18 months, how she visited him weekly at the facility in Indiana, told everyone she was visiting his grave, how in 2007, once he was functional again, she set him up in an apartment in Bloomington under a fake name, how she'd convinced Rachel to marry me, told her it's what Michael would have wanted, that it would help everyone heal. How in 2008, Michael reached out to Rachel and they met for coffee and realized they still loved each other. How my mother sat them both down and said the situation was too complicated to unravel. David was happy. Sophie was a baby. Why ruin everything? How they agreed that Rachel would visit Michael every Wednesday. How Michael sometimes came to Springfield and stayed at my mother's house. How my kids had met him. They thought he was Mom's friend from nursing school. The kids have met him? I couldn't breathe. A few times, my mother said. They don't know who he is. They think he's just someone Rachel and I know. Sophie and Alex, I said. Are they mine? You're identical twins, David. Genetically, it doesn't... Are they his? She looked at me with something like pity. Does it matter? And that's when I understood. I'd never know. With identical twin DNA, paternity tests were useless. Sophie could be Michael's daughter. Alex could be Michael's son. Or they could be mine. Or maybe one of each. I'd raised them for 16 and 14 years, and I'd never know if I was their biological father. You stole my life, I said. I stood up, knocked my chair over. You made me live his life. You turned me into a ghost. David, please! I left. Got in my car. Drove aimlessly for hours on county roads, screaming until my voice gave out. I ended up back at Tom's house. He opened the door, took one look at me, and pulled me inside. I need to destroy them, I told him. All of them. I need everyone to know what they did. Tom poured me a whiskey. Then let's make a plan. Over the next 3 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. Cold, calculated, patient. I hired a private investigator. Cost me $2,000 I withdrew from our emergency fund. The PI tailed Rachel on December 11th, the following Wednesday. Got photos of her and Michael grocery shopping together at the Jewel in Bloomington. Photos of them going into his apartment building, a beautiful shot of them kissing in his doorway. I met with a divorce attorney named Rebecca Hayes. Tom recommended her. Shark in the courtroom, he said. I walked into her office with a folder full of evidence and laid it all out. She stared at me for a full minute after I finished talking. This is the most complicated case I've seen in 15 years, she said. Can I divorce her? I asked. Yes, infidelity is clear grounds in Illinois. But David, there are complications. The kids are minors. Custody battles get ugly. You can't prove biological paternity with identical twin DNA. Your mother's fraud, the fake death, the insurance money, that's criminal, but the statute of limitations might have passed. This is going to be messy. What do you think I should do? She leaned back in her chair. What do you want? I want them to lose everything I lost, I said. Identity, family, respect. I want full custody of my kids. I want the house, and I want everyone to know what they did. The last part I can't help you with legally, Rebecca said, but the rest we can work on. She told me not to confront Rachel or Michael yet. Document everything, act normal, file for divorce right after the holidays for better optics. I nodded and agreed, and left her office with a plan forming in my head that had nothing to do with lawyers. The next 2 weeks were the hardest of my life. I went home, slept next to Rachel, made breakfast, drove the kids to school, taught my classes, came home and had dinner with my wife, who was cheating on me with my supposedly dead brother. She'd talk about her day, about yoga, about Christmas shopping. I'd nod and ask questions and die a little bit more inside with every word, Sophie noticed. Dad, are you okay? You seem sad. Just tired, sweetheart, I said. Lied, everything was a lie. Alex asked one night at dinner, You guys aren't getting divorced, are you? Kyle's parents just split, and he's really messed up about it. No, buddy, I said, my heart breaking. We're fine. We weren't fine. Nothing was fine. But I smiled and ruffled his hair and pretended. December 18th, Rachel tried to initiate sex. I said I wasn't feeling well, locked myself in the bathroom and dry heaved over the toilet. Couldn't do it. Couldn't touch her knowing where she'd been, who she'd been with, what she'd done. Sunday dinners at my mother's house were torture. She'd act completely normal, ask about the kids' grades, compliment Rachel's haircut, make small talk about the weather. I'd watch her and think about how she'd been lying to me for 20 years, lying with a smile, lying over pot roast and mashed potatoes. I started to wonder if she was a psychopath. If you could do this to your own child, what did that make you? On December 20th, I called my mother. I want to do something special for Christmas this year, I said, keeping my voice light. I have a surprise, a guest I want to bring to dinner. Oh, she said. I could hear the suspicion. Who? It's a surprise, I said. Trust me, you'll love it. Just make sure everyone's there. Rachel's parents, Aunt Linda, and Uncle George, everyone. She agreed. She had no choice. That same day, I bought a burner phone, texted Michael from it, pretending to be Rachel. Patricia fell and hit her head. She's in the hospital. Can you come to Springfield Christmas Day? She's asking for you. He responded within 5 minutes. Of course. Is she okay? Should I tell David? I wrote back, still as Rachel. No, don't tell him. Let's surprise him. Come to Patricia's house at 2 p.m. Christmas Day. She'll be there. He said he would. He said he loved her. He said he'd been wanting to see the family anyway. I stared at that text for a long time. Wanting to see the family. Like he had a right to any of us. Christmas Eve, I lay in bed next to Rachel while she slept. Peaceful. innocent looking in the dark. This was the last night she'd sleep without knowing that I knew, the last night of the lie. I got up at 3 a.m., went to the kitchen, made coffee, wrote a letter to Sophie and Alex that I'd give them later. After, when they hated me, because they would hate me for what I was about to do, but they needed to know the truth. At dawn, I loaded a box into my car trunk, laptop, projector, printed photos, USB drive with all the evidence, a script I'd written of what I was going to say. In 11 hours, I was going to detonate a bomb, and I couldn't wait. Christmas morning was surreal. Rachel was downstairs humming, making cinnamon rolls. The smell filled the house. The kids came down in their pajamas, excited about presents. Sophie opened a new laptop for college applications. Alex got the basketball shoes he'd been wanting. Everyone was happy, normal. I smiled and took photos and felt like I was watching someone else's life. My phone buzzed. Text from Michael, still thinking I was Rachel. On my way. ETA 1:45. Nervous. Haven't seen everyone in 20 years. I texted back. It'll be fine. Can't wait to see you. Rachel kissed my cheek. You seem nervous. You okay? Just excited for dinner at Mom's, I said. It's going to be memorable. At 12:30, we loaded up the car and drove to my mother's house. The big Victorian was decorated beautifully. Christmas tree in the window. Lights everywhere. Wreaths on the doors. Rachel's parents arrived. Aunt Linda and Uncle George. Tom, who I'd invited as moral support. Everyone gathering in the living room with cocktails and appetizers and Christmas cheer. I set up my laptop and projector in the corner. Mom, I made a photo retrospective, I announced. Thought we could watch it after dinner. My mother's face went pale, but she recovered quickly. How thoughtful, David. I excused myself, checked my phone. Michael had texted. Parking now, nervous about seeing everyone, I responded. Come to the front door, ring the bell, I'll answer. Tom caught my eye across the room, raised his eyebrows. You sure about this? I nodded. Too late now. At 1:55, the doorbell rang. I'll get it, I called out. I walked to the foyer, took a breath. Opened the door. Michael stood there on the porch, identical to me, same face I saw in the mirror every morning. He was holding a bottle of wine, looking nervous. When he saw me, his face went white. David, he said, I can explain. Everyone, I called back into the house, loud enough for everyone to hear. Come here, you need to see this. I heard footsteps, voices, the family coming to see what was happening. They crowded into the foyer and stopped dead. Gasps, screams. Aunt Linda dropped her wine glass. It shattered on the hardwood floor. What the? Uncle George's voice. Jesus Christ! Rachel's father, Richard, Sophie's voice, young and confused. Dad? Who is that? My mother in the background, barely a whisper. David, don't... I stepped aside, gestured to Michael like a game show host presenting a prize. Everyone, I'd like you to meet my identical twin brother, Michael Miller. Michael died, Uncle George said. We went to his funeral. We buried him. Funny story about that, I said. Michael tried to back away, tried to leave. I blocked the door. No, you're staying for this. Rachel was frozen in the corner, all the color gone from her face. Alex's voice small and scared. Mom, why does that man look exactly like Dad? Because he is Dad, I said. Well, he was supposed to be. Patricia moved forward. David, please, not like this. When else, Mom? I turned to her. At another funeral, another Christmas, another 20 years of lies? No, we're doing this now. Everyone sit down. I herded them all into the living room like sheep, made them sit. Turned on the projector. The first slide appeared on the wall. Michael's obituary from September 2005. 20 years ago, I said, my voice steady now, clear. We buried my brother, closed casket, car accident. Too traumatic to view the body. We mourned, we cried, we moved on. Next slide. Michael's Facebook photo from 2019. Except Michael didn't die. My mother faked his death, sent him to a private recovery facility, collected $500,000 in life insurance fraud. Michael has been living in Bloomington, Illinois under the name Mike Anderson for the past 18 years. Patricia stood up. David, sit down. I'd never yelled at my mother before. She sat. Next slide. Bank transfer records. For 20 years, Mom sent Michael $1,500 a month, paid for his apartment, his food, his life, while I thought he was rotting in a grave at Oakwood Cemetery. Richard, Rachel's father, turned to my mother. "Patricia, is this true?" My mother was crying. "He was dying. I saved him." Next slide. The photo of Rachel and Michael kissing. Recent, clear, undeniable. The room exploded. Susan, Rachel's mother, made a sound like she'd been punched. "Rachel, I can explain," Rachel whispered. "Let me explain," I said. I clicked to the timeline I'd made. 2005, Michael's accident. 2006, Mom convinces Rachel to marry me. Said it's what Michael would have wanted. Said it would help us all heal. I was the backup plan, the replacement twin. 2008, Michael recovers enough to contact Rachel. They meet. They realize they still love each other. Do they tell me? No. Mom sits them down and tells them to keep it secret. David's happy, she says. He has a baby daughter. Why ruin it? Next slide. Photos spanning years. Michael and Rachel at restaurants, on beaches, hiking, living a whole secret life. For 17 years, every Wednesday, Rachel drove to Bloomington to see Michael. She told me it was book club. She told our kids it was book club. She lied for 17 years. Sophie was crying. "Mike from Mom's nursing school? That was Uncle Michael?" "Yes," I said. "Michael has been to this house. You've met him. Mom told you he was Mom's friend." Another lie. Alex stood up. "Dad, are you?" I looked at my son. My voice cracked. "I don't know, Alex. Genetically, Michael and I are identical. I'll never know if you're mine or his. That's what they gave me. That's my gift." I clicked to Rachel's journal entry, read it aloud. "Patricia says David can never know. He's happy being a father. Michael and I have our Wednesdays. It's enough." Rachel was sobbing. "David, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "You're sorry you got caught," I said. Michael finally spoke. "David, she was my girlfriend. You stole her." I turned on him. "I stole her? You were dead. She was a widow. I married her because Mom told me to, because everyone said it was the right thing to do." "I came back," Michael said. "Then why didn't you come back publicly?" I stepped toward him. "Why sneak around? Why hide?" "Because you're a coward. Because you let me raise your kids while you played house with my wife once a week." "They're not your kids," Michael said. "We'll never know," I shouted. "That's the beauty of it. I'll never know." The room descended into chaos. Richard, Rachel's father, turned on my mother. "You did this? You destroyed my daughter's marriage?" "I was protecting Michael," Patricia said weakly. "You lied to us for 20 years. Aunt Linda, my mother's own sister. I mourned him. I cried at his funeral." Uncle George to Michael. "You let your brother raise your kids?" Michael defensive. "They're not his." "We'll never know," I said again. Sophie ran upstairs, crying. Alex ran outside. Rachel reached for him. "Honey, please." "Is he my dad?" Alex shouted, pointing at Michael. "Is that why you see him every week?" "I don't know," Rachel whispered. Susan, Rachel's mother, stood up. "We're leaving. Rachel, get your things." "Mom, now." The room was falling apart, everyone yelling. Patricia trying to defend herself. Michael trying to talk to Rachel. Rachel crying. My whole family imploding in real time. I unplugged the projector, packed up my laptop. Tom helped me carry things to my car. "Divorce papers will be delivered tomorrow," I told Rachel on my way out. "I'm taking Sophie and Alex tonight. Your parents can bring them to you later if they want." I found Sophie upstairs in my old childhood bedroom. Alex outside sitting on the porch steps. "Get in the car," I told them. "We're going to a hotel." "Dad, what happens now?" Sophie asked. She looked so young, so broken. "I don't know, sweetheart," I said, "but we'll figure it out together." We drove away from my mother's house while screaming echoed behind us. In my rearview mirror, I could see people spilling out onto the lawn. Patricia collapsed on the front steps. Michael trying to go after Rachel, Rachel's father holding him back. I thought that was the end. It was just the beginning. The next 3 weeks were hell. We stayed at a Holiday Inn for the first few nights. Sophie wouldn't speak to me. She thought I'd humiliated her mother in front of everyone. Alex kept asking if Michael was his real dad. I didn't have an answer, couldn't give him one. "Genetically, we're the same, buddy," I'd say. "I raised you. That's what matters. But it didn't matter to him, not then. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Rachel's parents took her in, but her father wouldn't speak to her. Her mother called me once, said, "What you did was cruel, but I understand why." Rachel's friends found out. Screenshots of her texts circulated in their group chats. Former nursing colleagues saw the news. Small town, big scandal. Rachel deactivated all her social media. My mother's fraud came to light. Someone, definitely not me, I have an alibi, tipped off the insurance company. They opened an investigation. Patricia's sister Linda publicly disowned her on Facebook. My sister lied about my nephew's death for 20 years. I will never forgive her. The real estate firm Patricia used to work for released a statement distancing themselves from her. Michael's life in Bloomington fell apart. His neighbors saw the news. His clients dropped him. His landlord evicted him due to the media circus. He had to move back in with Patricia, which I thought was poetic justice. The media picked it up. Local news first. Springfield woman faked son's death. Enabled decades-long affair. Then it spread. I got interview requests from morning shows, podcasts, documentary filmmakers. I declined everything. This wasn't entertainment. This was my life. It went viral on Reddit. Someone posted the story on r surviving infidelity. Man discovers dead twin alive, having affair with wife. 47,000 upvotes. 8,300 comments. People debating whether I did the right thing. Some said I was a hero. Some said I traumatized my kids for revenge. I didn't read the comments. Tom did. Tried to shield me from the worst of it. But I couldn't escape my own guilt. Sophie was having panic attacks at school. Kids staring at her, whispering, "Your mom's a cheater. Your uncle is your dad. Your grandma's a criminal." She had a breakdown in February. Couldn't breathe, the school counselor called me. When I got there, Sophie looked at me with pure hatred. "This is your fault," she said. "You wanted everyone to know. You made it public. And now I can't go anywhere without people staring." She was right. I'd made my kids collateral damage. Alex got in a fight defending Rachel, punched a kid who called her a whore, got suspended. When I picked him up from school, he wouldn't look at me. I went back to teaching in January. The principal suggested I take paid leave. "This is a lot for everyone," she said gently. I agreed. Spent my days in a one-bedroom apartment I'd rented, sitting on an air mattress, staring at walls. Lost 12 pounds because I forgot to eat. Tom would come by, force me to shower, bring me food. "You destroyed my kids' lives," I told him one night. "No," Tom said firmly. "They did that, Rachel, Michael, Patricia, not you. Sophie won't talk to me. Alex asked if I'm really his dad, and I couldn't answer. You raised them, that's the answer. But it wasn't enough. Not for them, not for me. I started to spiral, couldn't sleep or slept 14 hours at a time. Replayed everything in my head. The wedding, Sophie's birth, Alex's first steps. Every moment wondering if it was all built on a lie, wondering who I really was if everything I thought I knew was false. I was always the replacement. That phrase haunted me. The legal battles dragged on. First divorce hearing in January. Rachel's lawyer argued that Patricia manipulated her, that Rachel was a victim too. My lawyer Rebecca shut that down. She continued the affair for 17 years as an adult. The judge ordered temporary custody. Kids with me weekdays, Rachel on weekends. Patricia's criminal case was resolved in March. Plea deal. 2 years probation, full restitution of the $500,000 to the insurance company, 500 hours of community service. No prison time because of her age and no prior record. I attended the sentencing. She looked at me, mouthed, "I'm sorry." I turned away. Outside the courthouse, a reporter asked if I felt justice was served. "Justice? No," I said. "Consequences? Yes." In February, I got a call from Rachel's mother. Rachel had tried to kill herself. Sleeping pills. Susan found her in time, called 911, stomach pumped. "I hope you're happy," Susan said to me. I wasn't happy. I visited Rachel in the hospital against my lawyer's advice. She looked hollow. "I loved him," she said. "I always loved him." "Then you should have let me go 17 years ago." "I couldn't." Patricia said, "You're 38 years old, Rachel. You could have made your own choices." She looked at me with empty eyes. "So could you. You could have kept it private." I left without another word, because she was right. I could have divorced her quietly, could have protected the kids from all of this. But I'd wanted them all to hurt the way I hurt, and they did. But so did Sophie and Alex. Did I go too far? I asked myself that question every night for months, sitting in my car outside the house that used to be mine, now sold to pay legal fees, sitting at my therapist's office, which I finally started going to in March. Dr. Ellen Carter, patient, kind, not judgmental. "Who is David Miller outside of this story?" she asked me once. "I don't know," I said. "I teach history. I coach basketball. I thought I was a husband and a father, but—" "You are a father," she said. "That hasn't changed." "But am I their father? Does it matter?" Everyone kept asking me that. Does it matter? Yes. No, I don't know. Dr. Carter helped me slowly, helped me separate my identity from Michael's. "You're not a replacement," she said. "You're an original." Helped me process grief for the life I thought I had. Helped me accept that I might never know the biological truth about my kids. "What if they're Michael's?" I asked her once. "Does that change your love for them?" "No," I said, crying. "But it changes whether they love me." "Does it?" she asked. "Or does it change whether you think you deserve their love?" I sat with that for a long time. In April, Sophie texted me, "Can we talk?" We met at a diner, neutral ground. She looked older than 16, tired. "I've been in therapy too," she said. "Yeah?" "My therapist asked me who my dad is." She looked down at her coffee. "And I said you, because you're the one who taught me to ride a bike, who helped me with math homework even though you're terrible at math, who came to every orchestra concert even when I was just third chair violin." My eyes filled with tears. "Sophie, I'm still mad," she said quickly. "You embarrassed us. But I understand why you did it. Mom lied, Grandma lied, Michael lied, everyone lied. I should have thought about you and Alex more before I—" "Maybe," she said. "But I'm tired of people lying to protect my feelings. I'd rather know the truth even if it sucks." She reached across the table and held my hand. "You're my dad." I held on and cried. Alex took longer. He was angrier at everyone. Spent most weekends with Rachel at first, but gradually that changed. In May, I went to one of his basketball games, first one in months. He saw me in the stands, paused, then kept playing. After the game, he walked over. "You came," he said. "I'll always come," I said, "even if you don't want me to." "Mom didn't come. I'm sorry. She's with him, Michael. They're trying to be a family now." He looked away. "I don't know where I belong." "You belong with me," I said. "Always." "What if I'm not yours?" "You're mine," I said. "Biology doesn't change that." He hugged me for the first time in 6 months. I held on tight. By summer, I was teaching again. Summer school session, easier pace. Students were curious but respectful. I focused on work, on routine, on building a new normal. My apartment slowly became a home, real furniture, plants, photos of Sophie and Alex everywhere. I joined a betrayed spouses support group, heard other people's stories, realized I wasn't alone in this specific hell. Met a woman there named Sarah, 42, divorced after her husband's affair. We talked after group, got coffee a few times. I wasn't ready to date, wasn't sure I'd ever be ready, but it was nice to talk to someone who understood. "Do you still love her?" Sarah asked once. "I love who I thought she was," I said, "but that person never existed." In July, I took Sophie and Alex camping. First family trip since everything exploded. We sat around a campfire, roasted marshmallows, didn't talk about Rachel or Michael or Patricia, just existed together. "This is nice," Sophie said. "Yeah," Alex agreed. "Normal. We're building a new normal," I said. For one weekend, we were just a family. I looked at my reflection in the lake and saw myself. Just myself, not Michael, not the replacement. Just David Miller, history teacher, father, survivor. Now it's been a year. December 2026. Sophie and Alex are with me for Christmas. They chose to spend it with me instead of Rachel. We decorated a tree in my apartment together last night, hung ornaments Sophie made in elementary school, listened to Alex complain about the music being too old, normal stuff. Rachel and Michael are still together in Bloomington, but I hear through the kids that it's not the fairy tale they thought it would be. Turns out an affair loses its shine when you have to do it in the daylight, when there's no more sneaking around, no more stolen Wednesdays, just the reality of two people who built a relationship on lies. Patricia completed her probation, paid back every cent, lives in a small condo now, most of her savings gone. Her sister still won't speak to her. She sent me a letter in September. I thought I was protecting everyone. I see now I protected no one. I never wrote back. Maybe someday, but not yet. Michael tried reaching out to Sophie and Alex through Instagram. They both blocked him. They don't owe him anything. He wanted to be their father. He should have been there, should have been honest, should have done a lot of things, but he didn't. The divorce is final. The house is sold. My kids know the truth even if it hurts. I see a therapist every week. I have a job I love. I have friends. I'm building something new from the ashes of everything that burned. Do I regret exposing them all at Christmas dinner? Some days, yes. Some days, no. When Sophie has a panic attack, yes. When Alex tells me he's proud of me for not lying, no. It's complicated. It'll always be complicated. But here's what I know now. I'm not Michael's replacement. I'm not the backup twin. I'm David Miller. I'm 41 years old. I teach history because I believe knowing the truth about the past matters. I made mistakes. I hurt my kids in the process of hurting the people who hurt me. But I told the truth. And I'm still here, still standing, still being their dad. Yesterday was Christmas Eve. I took Sophie and Alex to Oakwood Cemetery. We stood at Michael's grave together. The headstone still says he died in 2005. I haven't bothered to change it. Let it be a monument to the lie. Sophie asked, "Do you ever wish none of this happened?" "Every day," I said honestly. "And also never." Alex looked at me. "That doesn't make sense." "I know," I said, "but it's true. I'm glad I don't have to pretend anymore. Glad my kids know the truth. Glad I'm not living a lie. But I wish they hadn't been hurt. I wish I could have protected them from all of it. I wish a lot of things." I placed flowers on Michael's grave one last time. Not because I forgive him, not because I miss him, but because that grave represents 20 years of my life built on a foundation that never existed, and I'm done carrying that weight. We walked back to the car together, my kids on either side of me. My family, my real family, not perfect, but real. Michael's story ended in 2005, whether or not he was actually in that grave. Mine was just beginning.